And it starts with you making an intentional decision today to say, hey, the year is done. It's behind me. I'm here now. This is what I'm grateful for. And this year is going to be different. It's going to be different because you're going to make it different. Welcome to the It Matters podcast. I'm your host, Walter Perez, and let's dive in as we help you grow your mindset and elevate your leadership. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the It Matters podcast. Man, I am so grateful that you're joining me on another episode, and you're joining me at the beginning of the year as we kick off another year of podcasting. I look back and we had a full and exciting, full of learning and wisdom type of year, and I'm very grateful for that, and I'm glad that you've joined me on the journey. And when it comes to the It Matters podcast, though, we're just getting started. And so I'm excited that you have chosen to continue to grow and invest in your leadership, because my calling here and my desire is to help you become better as a leader, so we can all grow together and make a great impact. So I thought this year I would kick off the year by starting a solo episode, because, we're a few days into the new year, and how are you doing with it? How is it? How are you adjusting? How are you feeling about the year to come? Are you optimistic? Are you feeling down about it? And so my desire is to help you grow. And so I wanted to bring you some questions that you should ask yourself, because one thing I do know is that great leaders ask great questions. Now, we can go down a rabbit hole and start talking about teamwork and business building and so forth and so on. But I want to narrow in today specifically, how can I help you personally grow? How can I help you develop your personal skills and develop yourself so then you can go on and grow whatever you're working on? Because if you develop yourself, it will then ripple into everything else. And so one thing that I really want to encourage you on is to ask some great questions. And part of that is about evaluating the past year, evaluating your days, your weeks, your months, but also looking forward and having vision for the future. And so one thing I also know, that if you don't make a change, if you don't become intentional about what you're going to do different, nothing changes. I came across this quote that I wanted to share with you. If your habits don't change, you won't have a new year. You will just have another year. And I don't think any of us just want to have another year. We want to be able to have our dreams come true. We want to be able to accomplish great things. We want to be able to see a difference in the year to come. And so, hey, strap in and follow along with me today as we do a quick episode on some of the questions that I've asked myself and that I've encouraged many, many other people to do the same, because these are ways that we can make sure we're accountable, not only to ourselves, but to our dreams and to everybody else. And so here we go. These questions are going to take you to the next level, but you're going to have to make some intentional time and work into it, so then you can see the difference. So what are some of the wins that you had or that you experienced this past year? It's so easy to focus on what didn't go well. Are you sitting there right now? Are you driving? Are you walking? Are you thinking, man, I had so many big goals. I had big dreams for 2024, and man, I only hit some of them. I didn't really maximize my potential, and I didn't really activate the way I wanted. So what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? So I want to help you focus on the wins, because we can focus on the negative and the losses all day long, and we can make a big list. I'm right there with you. So, but what about the wins? What did you do well? What did work? What happened that made you a better person this past year? Ask yourself that and grab a journal and write that down. What are some of the wins that you experienced this past year that made you who you are today? That made this reflection time powerful? Hey, I also understand that we're a few days into the new year. And so does it feel like this is late? You should have done this maybe at the end of the year or on the first. Hey, it's okay. The whole idea here is we want to get started and we want to make a change. We want to do something different. So, what are some of the wins that you had this past year? What did you learn? Because it's important to understand that if you're going to reflect and you're going to reflect on your experiences, it's not just for the purpose of knowledge, it's for the purpose of evaluating. When we evaluate our experiences, that's where growth happens because it gives an open door for us to learn, to grow, to adjust, to figure out how we can be better. So, what did you learn this past year? I got to tell you, I learned a lot. Whether that was from podcasting, from business building, from relationships, there's a ton of things that I learned that have made me better, and I'm excited to think about those things a little bit more and to grab them and figure out a way how to make them my own. It's super important for us to reflect on these experiences and learn from the mistakes and the problems and the challenges we had, because that's what makes us better. Failure doesn't have to be fatal. Failure can be speed bumps along the way that springboard us to the front if we choose to learn. And so, what are some of the wins that you've had this past year? What are the things that you have learned? Now, it's super important. We love to kind of talk about these things, but and we want to sometimes say, okay, well, I know that there's different habits that I want to add into my life. I want to incorporate certain disciplines. But before we get there, I want to encourage you that you need to think, what kind of habits do you need to cut out from this past year that didn't work? Because one thing that I've learned about habits is that you don't just add new ones, you replace them. You replace the old, and that gives room for the new. And so that's actually a formula for us to be able to get rid of old habits, is by replacing them with new ones. So have you stopped and thought about that? What are the habits that you need to cut out? We can probably come up with a list of things that we want to add on, that we want to be able to incorporate into our future. But what do we need to cut out? What do we need to say no to? And so I need to encourage you to stop and think and go, okay, what are those things? You need to write them down. There's something powerful about taking a good old-fashioned notebook and a pen and putting your phones and your computers aside and actually writing it down. I assure you, you make this exercise a habit moving forward, it will change your life. Think about the wins. Think about the things you learned. What are those habits that you need to cut out? What do you need to stop doing? When you do that exercise, you now need to go from the past to the present. And there's one technique that I know that will bring us to the now and to the present more than ever, and that is being grateful. Being grateful allows us to forget and to leave the past behind and bring us into the present of what is real right now. And being grateful allows us to focus on the great things that have happened and are happening, because the thing is that there is a ton of things to be grateful. And this is not just to be a positive thinker. This is to be real and go, okay, what can I be grateful from this past year? What can I be grateful today? I know that if I've done this exercise, so I'm telling you to do something that I've done. When I sit down, I can write note after note about what I'm grateful for, because there's a lot of things, whether that's family, whether that's work, whether that's friendships, relationships, new habits that I've learned, new thoughts that I have, things that I've adjusted on, and how I've grown. And oh my goodness. And we can get in so deep as we look into our life and realize what we have. And I mean, your health and everything else. There is so much to be thankful for. And I encourage you to start even with a small list and allow it to grow. But when we become present and we become grateful, we stop focusing on what we didn't do well, the failures, what's not working. And then we start being proactive and changing on how we're going to think about the future. And so being grateful is probably one of the best exercises that you could ever do, because it'll change your life. It'll transform your life. I think about a quote that I have on one of our walls at home that says, "One positive thought a day makes all of a difference." And I may have misquoted that, but that's how I think of that quote. Like, one positive thought a day makes a big difference, and it starts with that. So think about this: if we can start with being grateful, it changes our whole perspective, and it even adds life to us, and it changes who we are. It can be life giving. And then we can start thinking about the future. We can start thinking, we can get grounded and we can get present, and we can start having vision. We need to have vision for the future. I believe in that quote that where there is no vision, the people perish. A great proverb. There's something about having vision for the future. And it's not the same as having goals. Goals is what activates that vision, but having big picture, big dream, and believing that, hey, I can do this. And remember that when we're doing this, an alignment of what can we do better for ourselves. We're not worrying about somebody else. We're not trying to prove somebody else wrong. We're not trying to compete with somebody else. Do it for yourself. Do it for yourself and say, I can do this. Prove yourself right. Now go for it and make that list, because when you do that, it's going to change it. And then when you start going forward, some other questions that you can ask yourself. Some other questions that you can ask yourself is this: who do I want to become? This next year, who do you want to become? That's a super ultra important question, because who we become is what really ends up what's going to outlast us, what's going to leave the legacy. Do you want to be a person of integrity? Do you want to be a person that's honest and trustworthy? Do you want to be a person that people see you as a humble person? Do you want to be somebody that that wants to be fun, that wants to be encouraging, somebody that is positive and contagious in that way? Do you want to be a great leader? Do you want to be someone that leads by example? Who do you want to become? You need to think about that, and you need to write that down. Another thought to think of or another question to ask yourself: what do you want to experience? What do you want to experience in life? What do you want to experience this next year? Do you want to go on adventures? Do you want to experience, you want to experience things in traveling? Do you want to experience things in the outdoors? What kind of things do you want to experience? What do you want to try? What is something new that you want to do? This is something to ask ourselves, because it's going to pull us out of our comfort zone. It's going to stretch us. So what do you want to experience? How about this? What do you want to feel? We like to talk about different things we want to do and have potentially and all that, but what do you want to feel? Do you want to feel peace this next year? Do you want to feel security? Do you want to feel comfortable? Do you want to feel stretched? Do you want to feel courageous? What do you want to feel? Do you want to feel loved? Do you want to feel gratitude throughout the year? Think about these different things and write at least 5 or 10 different things that come to mind, and allow it to grow from there. And here's probably one final question that will help you move into the future. What do you want to have? What do you want to have? Maybe you have some dreams and goals of maybe materialistic things. You want to have some things. I'm not against that. I think that can be helpful, and it can be an okay thing and a good thing. But let's do it in order. So what do you want to have? Do you want to? Are you hoping to get a new car this year? Are you hoping to buy a new pickleball racket? A new have a new membership for a gym? Are you hoping that you can have a new technology in your house? Are you hoping that you can do some renos? Like, what are you wanting to have this year, and have you written it down? This exercise is to help us break down these dreams and visions and goals, and be able to identify them, be able to speak them out, and be able to write them down. I want to encourage you to do this exercise and ask yourself questions. So let's go back to the top and catch these questions again, because these are the questions that can be transformative for you. It will help you end your year well, but it'll help you start this year on an amazing note. So here, great leaders ask great questions. So these are some of the questions that you're going to ask yourself this year that will change your life. One is, what were the wins that I experienced last year? What are those wins? What are the top things that come to mind that are for sure wins that made me a better person? What are the things that I learned from this past year? What happened that allowed me to learn and to grow? What are some of these things that I wasn't too happy with and these failures that I learned from? What did I learn that makes me better? What kind of habits do I need to cut out that I need to replace with new habits? What is the things that I need to say no to? And what are the things that I need to adjust and go, okay, that needs to be out of my life because they're not good for me. They were destructive and they were not something that was going to give me life. What can you cut out? And what can I be grateful for that took place this past year? When I'm in the present, when I'm in the now, this moment, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for today? What am I grateful from this past week, this month, and this past year? What am I grateful for? And then moving on to the future, you want to ask questions that will help you with your vision and your mission and your growth. And so what do you want to become? Who do you want to become? Who do you want to become? What are those characteristics that you want in your life? You want people to know you for and you want people to remember you for? Who do you want to become? What do you want to experience this next year? What do you want to experience? How do you want to live your life? What do you want to feel? What do you want to feel as you go throughout the year? When you end next year, how do you want to feel about the year? And finally, what do you want to have? What are those things that you want to work towards? And what do you want to have in your life, in your house, in your family, in your business? I encourage you to make this habit, to even look back on it in a month from now, on a monthly basis. At the very least, do a mid-year review and look at how far you've come and how these things are coming together, and make sure that this year is the best year yet and that you experience something that you haven't experienced. Because if you don't change, nothing changes. And it starts with you making an intentional decision today to say, hey, the year is done. It's behind me. I'm here now. This is what I'm grateful for. And this year is going to be different. It's going to be different because you're going to make it different. And then through that, you're going to be a leader that leads by example, that is able to impact others in the world that you function in, and you're going to make a difference. And so I hope that this adds value to you. I hope that you take this and you pause and you take some time out and you figure out how it applies to you and allow it to change you and allow you to transform you and to make you better. I appreciate you. I'm excited for this next year. Thank you for joining me on the It Matters podcast. We have a big year ahead of us. I have some amazing guests coming up that are going to add value to you, that are going to make you better. Because when you are better, we all know around here that it's a win-win when the leader leads well. And so I'll catch you on the next time. Bye for now.